So, your membership has been up and running for a few years now. When you first launched, you offered those initial members an amazing deal to entice them to join. However, now you've added quite a lot of content, the community has grown, your membership is just so much more valuable. You put the price up a few times, but you've still got that group of initial members who joined within the first few weeks who are paying you a lot less than everybody else. And it's really getting to you. After all, why should they be getting your membership for less than what it's worth? So now you're desperately trying to find a way to increase the price that those members are paying. And you're listening to this podcast episode to help you figure that out. I've got news for you. You are going down the wrong path. I'm going to tell you why in just a sec.
You're listening to the Membership Guys podcast, bringing you proven, practical tips and advice from the leading experts on growing a successful membership business each and every week. And now, here's your host, Mike Morrison.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of the Membership Guys podcast. I am Mike Morrison, one half of the Membership Guys and your host for today's show. Thank you so much for joining me this week. If you're brand new to the podcast, make sure that you hit subscribe in your podcast app, because just like Aerosmith, you don't want to miss a thing. You want to make sure you are getting your weekly dose of membership advice. If you are a long-time listener and existing subscriber, as always, thank you guys so much for your continued support, for your reviews, all the great feedback and interactions on social media. I love you guys. You're the reason why I do this. Thank you for sticking with us. All right. So, how do you increase the price your existing members are paying? Or more so, should you increase the price that your existing members are paying? We get this question, this scenario presented to us a lot. And it's the exact conversation that I had in that little intro there, where people come along and they're a few years into running their membership. The price has gone up 2 or 3 times and they feel what they're charging now is right. It's a fair price for what their membership has become, for the content that's on offer, for the level of support they give within their community, for how many people are in their community supporting each other. But they had this little splinter in their brain, this little niggle, this annoyance in the back of their minds, because there's maybe 10, 20, 30 members who joined in the early days of the membership. And when they joined on an amazing deal. We always say when you launch your membership, the price someone joins at should be the best offer that will ever be available for your membership site, just to entice people to sign up within that first week or two when you launch. But once you're a few years into it, once you've added all this extra value to your membership, it can stick in your craw that these people are still paying you essentially a fraction of what your membership is worth. So we see so many people reach the point of frustration where they want to put up that price. But the fact is, this is such a short-sighted approach. Usually there's 2 reasons people give for why they feel justified in wanting to increase the price that existing members are paying. Typically, the first reason is that the membership has increased in value. So when they launched, maybe they only had 1 or 2 courses, maybe they only had a couple of fairly simple features, but as the years have gone on, that content library has grown, the community is now bigger. Perhaps you've introduced some elements into your membership that didn't exist before. So maybe you just started doing Q&A calls and you weren't doing those in the early days. Maybe you've started doing member coaching calls and they take up quite a lot of your time. And so, you begrudge the idea that someone who's perhaps paying you $20 a month could get on one of those calls and receive the same value as someone who's now paying you $80 a month, right? So the idea that your membership has increased in value and therefore it's unfair that people who joined several years ago during your launch are getting a cheaper price for what is now a more valuable product. The second reason is a one of fairness on your newer members. So the idea that it's not fair to your new members who are joining today and they're paying $50 a month, that's not fair that they're paying that amount when there's older members in your community who are getting the exact same thing for just $20. So here's 3 reasons why that is BS, why it's short-sighted. I don't think that having that viewpoint, it means you're a bad person, that it means that you are nefarious or you're trying to screw anyone over. But I think quite often we get a little short-sighted. We get a little lost in things. We take certain things for granted. We almost lose our roots. So there's 3 reasons why that's the case and why you absolutely shouldn't be increasing the price that your existing members are paying. The first is that those early members deserve that lower rate. That's the main thing you need to keep in mind. Those early members earned that lower rate. They earned it because they backed you when you had less to offer. They backed you when you were more of a risk because there was every chance that maybe this membership wouldn't go the way you wanted to, this new venture wouldn't work out, and you'd leave them high and dry. They put money in your pocket when your membership was bringing in less revenue, and that would have enabled you to do more, to sustain your membership rather than having to, explore another revenue stream because you weren't making enough money to focus on that membership. They gave momentum to your community. They provided feedback that helped you to improve. They helped you to spread the word that attracted more members. They earned that lower rate because they made it so that you could get to this point. And if they did all that, and they've stuck with you month after month, year after year, then you honoring that rate is the absolute least that you owe to them. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone who joined during your initial launch or during your first year or whatever has to have been this really hardworking, hyperactive, superactive participant in your community in order for them to deserve the cheaper rate that they're currently paying you. But they backed you when you had less to offer. It doesn't matter that your membership has increased in value because you would not be in the position to grow your membership to where it is now if not for those initial members. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too. You don't get to dangle this incredible, amazing founder member launch offer to those initial people to give you that push, to give you that initial momentum, that initial injection of members, and then yank it away once things are going smoothly. You just can't do that. You don't get to have the best of both worlds. Those people took the risk. Those early members took a chance on you. They took a chance on you, and that enabled you to grow your business. They deserve your loyalty. And it doesn't cost you any more to live up to your word, to honor that rate that they signed up for. It doesn't, because that's just not the way that memberships work. You're not having to pay more to carry the load of those initial members. You're really not. So you shouldn't be seeing the fact that someone who got in early is still getting that preferential rate. It's the same as people who invest in a tech company when they're still working out of their dad's garage. They deserve the return. They deserve to be in that stronger position years down the line than investors who waited until they could back a winning horse. So that's the first thing. Those early members earned that lower rate. That's reason number one why the idea of wanting to increase the price that those existing members are paying is short-sighted, because you're likely taking for granted just how important those initial members were. They've shown you loyalty. They backed you when you were at risk. You can't turn around now that things are going smoothly and say, okay, so long, thanks for all the fish. I want you to just give me more money now because I no longer need you as much as I once did, right? So that's been a little melodramatic, but hopefully the point gets across. Keep in mind those early members earned that lower rate. They deserved it. You should be glad to be able to honor it. Second reason, that lower rate is great for retention. Because if you are 2 or 3 years down the line and you've still got members who joined in your first couple of weeks or your first 6 months and they've got that low rate locked in, chances are the reason they are still with you is because they know that if they left and then changed their mind, as people often do, and wanted to come back, they'd need to rejoin at the higher rate. Now, that hook, that knowledge that they would lose this preferential rate will have made it so that there have been several months where they might otherwise have cancelled, but they've stuck around. So actually, they probably paid you for quite a lot of time where they've not been using your membership, or where anyone else might have been likely to have cancelled. Look at the overall lifetime value of those members, and you can pretty much guarantee on average it'll be higher than the typical member who's joined you more recently. That retention angle, if someone knows they've signed up and they have locked in that preferential rate for the entire time that they remain a member, then what happens is the more that the public price, the current price of your membership goes up, the less likely it is that those people who joined earlier, who have the discounted rate, the less likely it is that they will leave. If they were just paying your regular rate, they might have left you a year ago. So if you're just looking at what they're paying in any given month, it might look like you're earning less revenue from them. But overall, chances are you're probably making more for them in the long run because of how powerful the continuation of that preferential rate, that lower price, how powerful that is for member retention. Again, that's why I say that this whole thing of wanting to raise their price is short-sighted, because you are just looking at, well, this month I gave our members X, Y, and Z. Member number 1 paid me $29. Member number 2 paid me $60. That's not fair. But when you extrapolate this out over a longer period, you look at the effect that having this discount rate locked in truly has on member retention, then you'll usually see a different picture. And then the third thing, finally, even if you're not bothered about the retention benefits, and if despite everything that I've said, you've just got it in your head that those early members, they don't deserve the lower price. You don't care. You're totally justified in putting it up. Then chances are you'll likely find that you just can't from a purely technical standpoint. So that's the third reason. Even if you don't give a stuff about the loyalty element, even if you totally disagree with my position that those initial members earned their continued discounted rate by backing you when you weren't a sure thing, by helping you get that momentum, get off the ground. Even if you totally disagree with me, if you're sitting there shaking your head, third reason why it's not a good idea to increase their prices, you most likely just can't. Most payment processors do not make it easy, and in some cases do not even make it possible for you to raise the price of an existing subscription. Because think about it, if they did, there'd be nothing to stop someone nefarious getting people signed up to a $2 a month membership and then the day after they've signed up, whacking the recurring payment up to $2 million, collecting that first payment and doing a runner with the money, right? So from a purely technical standpoint, payment processors, once someone has got their subscription in place, you're going to find you just won't be able to change it. You would need those people to cancel their membership and then sign up. And so for that reason, if you wanted to put their price up, what you would actually need to do is manually cancel their subscriptions, which first and foremost sucks, and then reach out to those people and say, explain your reasoning, tell them that, the offering has changed, you want to put their price up, and then you've just got to hope that they'll resubscribe at the current price. I'll tell you something for free. That ain't going to happen. You might get a handful of those people who would rejoin at the current price, but you're going to burn your bridges so badly from proving yourself to not be true to your word, to not be true to the offer that you gave when they first signed up. And that is really, really going to sour their likelihood of rejoining your membership at the full price. Because again, when we're talking about the retention angle, when you've got that discounted price and you know that it's still worth, even if you can't use the membership for a month or two, it's still worth staying subscribed to hang on to that initial rate. Once that's taken away, then their thought process about being a part of your membership is going to be changed too. So those are the three reasons why you should not be looking to increase the price existing members are paying. First, they earned it. They earned that lower rate. It doesn't matter if your membership has increased in value. It doesn't matter that people who are signing up today, who are backing a winning horse, pay more than the people who backed you when you were more of a risk and had less to offer. That doesn't matter. It's not a question of fairness. Those people earn that lower rate by putting you in a position where you could actually get to the point you're at. So they deserve it. You should be honoring that rate. Reason 2, it's great for retention. Someone knows that if they leave, they lose the preferential rate, and if they rejoined, they'd have to rejoin at the higher price. That can be the difference between them staying and leaving if they're facing an extended period of where they'll not be able to use their membership. And then third, if you don't give a stuff about any of that, you're probably not going to be able to do it from a purely technical perspective anyway. So, tough. All right, you might be grasping a little bit of a confrontational attitude around this topic. And again, I do have to say that I don't fault most membership owners for at least questioning whether this is something they should be doing. But quite often, I do find they just need that little bit of a kick up the butt, a little bit of that, almost wake-up call to not be quite as short-sighted, to look at that bigger picture, to remember just how important those earlier members are to your longer-term journey in order to really, really appreciate the fact that raising the price on existing members who have every realistic expectation that that's not something that would happen. It just isn't good practice. Now, what I would caveat all of this with is in some cases, very rarely, but in some cases, there is a valid justification for wanting to do this. And this is often where the nature of the membership has just transformed phenomenally. So it's gone from being a do-it-yourself membership, which is a content library, Q&A's community, to being kind of a small group coaching, really intimate, really high touch, really in-depth, high-ticket program. So basically, the membership's no longer a typical membership anymore. Maybe you're charging $500 to small group masterminds. There's certainly more justification for thinking, well, hang on, what about these people who are paying me $10 a month? In that case, the better path to go would not be to just change one product into a different product and kind of chisel that square peg into a round peg just to fit in a different hole, but instead to actually create a separate new product. But if that's not feasible, then the way you would go about this would probably be to bring in an additional tier. So if you want to have a higher ticket offering, you can have it sitting alongside your current membership. So people join your membership can choose between do it yourself and done with you. So they can choose the regular, normal version of your membership with your content library, and that's priced at, $40 to $50 a month. Or they chose the second tier, which is $500 a month. It's all that plus your group coaching, your masterminds and stuff. That's a better approach in most cases. But even if you can't go down that route, there's certainly more justification then for contacting those initial members and saying, okay, this membership isn't a membership anymore. It's a mastermind program. It's a mastermind group. And so we're going to be discontinuing any subscriptions for the old version, and we're going to invite you to be a part of this new group. And here's a little discount. Here's a little incentive to thank you for your years of loyalty. That sort of situation, it's more reasonable to look at options for increasing or changing the price for existing members. However, for the other 95% of scenarios where it tends to just be about not quite being able to wrap your head around the idea that some of your members are paying a lot less than others and not feeling it's fair to your new members that you have people in there on a cheaper rate. Hopefully this episode has helped straighten you up on that, helped give you a longer, wider lens to view this whole scenario through, and hopefully it's given you that extra food for thought if this is something you've been considering within your own membership. That is it from me. Do hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I'll be back again next week with another installment of the Membership Guys podcast.